In this video, I'm going to share with you exactly how I would go from $0 to $30,000 a month building a faceless YouTube channel using AI. So in this video, we're going to be talking about how to select the perfect high profit niche for your channel. We're going to be talking about how to use the best AI tools to grow and monetize your channel. And then I'm going to be sharing with you the fastest path to scaling up to $30,000 a month. And if you stay till the end, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 secret faceless YouTube niches that next to no one know about. But don't skip all the way to the end to check them out, because without the information I'm going to be sharing in the video, they're not going to be much use to you. Now, if you are unfamiliar with me, my name is Adam Del Duca. I started YouTube in 2016. I've earned hundreds of thousands of dollars on YouTube, over 2 million subscribers, and I've helped hundreds of people start, grow, and monetize their own channels. Now, is what I'm about to share with you in this video even worthwhile you watching? Well, the strategies in this video right here that you're watching help Keeson make his first $10,000 a month and scale well beyond it. It helped Austin hit 4K a month while having 2 kids and a wife and a job. And it also helped Eric quit his 9-to-5 job. So if any of those things are things that you're hoping to achieve, then this video is definitely for you. Okay, so stage 1, high profit niche selection that actually works. So let's talk about the niche selection process first, so that you know how to select a niche for your channel to scale up to $30,000 per month. Okay, so first we want to talk about why people struggle with niche selection, okay? So the first thing is that they don't understand what a niche is. Then they ignore market dynamics when selecting their niche. And finally, they don't actually align the niche that they're pursuing with their income goal. All right, so we're going to dive into each one of these in particular, because if you make any one of these mistakes, I guarantee you will not be making $5, $10, $20, $30,000 a month on YouTube. All right, so mistake number 1, misunderstanding niches. So the beginner thinks of their channel as follows. My channel is the subject matter in which it pertains to. So what do I mean by this? If your content's about tech, your channel and your niche is tech. If your videos are about sports, then your niche is sports. That is a very beginner and rudimentary understanding of what a niche is, but what it actually is it's actually the pain points that your content is solving, and that's how experts look at YouTube channels. Now, why would you want to even know what pain points you're solving for a particular audience member of your videos? Well, when you know the pain points, number 1, you can use those to determine the topics for your videos, which makes ideation incredibly easier. And number 2, and probably more importantly for scaling to $30,000 a month, is it's going to help you identify offers like digital products, services, etc., that you can use to scale up your channel. All right, and we're going to be talking about how to use those things later on. So don't worry, that we're just simply positioning our channel with the niche selection process for now. All right, mistake number 2 is ignoring market dynamics. So the beginner, they select any random niche they see online, on X, on blogs, on Instagram, and they just hope for the best, right? They upload video, and they just think eventually something will happen. And sometimes things don't pan out their way, and they end up uploading hundreds of videos, wasting years of their life not getting any traction, when instead, if they would have just taken the expert path, which is exploiting gaps in the market, they would get so much further. All right, so how do you exploit gaps in the market? Well, we're going to talk about that right now. So the first thing you need to understand is that there are 2 types of markets on YouTube. There's red ocean niches and blue ocean niches. So the red ocean niches are those that are in high demand and high supply. So that means that there's a lot of people that want to watch those videos. There's also a lot of people creating content in those niches. So then there's blue ocean niches, and we're going to basically go through why one may be more appealing to you than another, but how to approach either one regardless. So blue ocean niches have high demand, so a lot of people want to watch the content for those particular videos in that niche, and there's low supply, which means that there's actually not a lot of channels in those niches. So I want to give you an example of both types of niches before we move forward, just to contextualize what I'm saying here. So Red Ocean niche, a good example of a faceless channel, is Chris Invest. So 158,000 subscribers as at the time I'm recording this. And he's in the personal finance niche, which, as you're probably already aware of, it is a pretty saturated niche. There are lots of channels, but there's also a lot of people that want to watch this content, which is why his videos still do particularly well. Then there are blue ocean niches, which are a lot less saturated, and there's a lot of people that want to watch this content. So here you can see that Atrium is a channel that's getting multiple million views per video, and in 4 videos, they've got almost 200,000 subscribers, likely more if you go check it out now, right? So in this particular case, you're gonna see that because there's so much demand and low supply, there's so much interest towards these particular videos. So this is why this channel is growing faster, because this expert creator was able to find a gap in the market. So again, just to double down, why do people struggle to grow? If you're thinking about starting a channel, you need to understand this. So this is not the time to click off the video. This is where you really want to get out your pen and paper and start to focus. So why people struggle to grow? So let's talk about red ocean markets. When there's a high amount of demand but a high amount of supply, it just means that there's a lot of diversification or dispersion of actual interest on the platform that's crossing many different channels and videos, which makes it harder to get views on the platform. So I want to depict it this way. Let's say that this group of 4 individuals represents the total demand in the market for a particular niche. And there's all these different channels making videos in this niche. Well, that attention is going to be split between all the videos, which means that there's really less market share for one particular channel to get. So what I recommend for someone starting a channel is do not enter a red ocean market without superior or a unique approach. So if you're not using better editing, if you're not creating better scripts, better thumbnails, or maybe you're just not using a different format, so better editing in terms of the animation style we just saw, then you are not going to be able to compete. You're going to be making the same content as everyone else, and then people are not going to have a reason to watch your videos, which is obviously not going to allow you to grow. So again, just to save you a ton of time, months of uploading, and probably quite a bit of money, do not approach a saturated niche with what's already in the market. So what you want to do is you want to enter into a blue ocean market where there's a high amount of demand and there is low supply, because then there is a gap in the market that you can exploit, which is the difference between the demand and the supply. So here in this particular case, what you're going to see is that in this case, you have all this demand in the market, right? You have all these viewers, and if you're one of the only channels in the market, all that attention is going to funnel towards your channel and your videos. So you're actually positioning your channel in a much more opportune setup for your channel to grow. So again, as you're probably starting to notice, there's a lot more that goes into niche selection than you probably thought, which is why I wanted to spend some time on it right here. Now, the third thing is a misalignment in your niche and your income goals. So the beginner, they just pick a niche and they think, I'll just pick one that I come across online and I'll hope for the best, and hopefully I hit these income goals that I have. But the expert confirms the income potential of the niche they're entering and aligns it to their income goals. So the way that I think about a niche, and it's probably going to resonate with you, is that a niche is kind of like a degree. You wouldn't go pursue a degree if you wanted to make $100,000 where the jobs can only make you $50,000. You'd pick something that could make you $100,000 a year. Well, in the same context, you wouldn't select a niche that can only make you a few $1,000s a month if you want to make $30,000 a month. So doing this upfront work is very important to aligning yourself with the right type of channel. So here is the niche criteria that you should think about when selecting a niche that follows these 2 different markets that I just explained. So the niche criteria for blue ocean niches, where there's a lot more demand than supply, you'll typically be able to validate that a niche falls within this category if it's getting more than 1 million views a month, there's a high view to subscriber ratio on the channels that you're seeing, and the channels in that niche are very young or less than 6 months old, and then they're monetized, they have 2 or more monetization streams, and just based on ad revenue, they're making more than 10K a month. Now, red ocean niches, the ones that are more saturated but still have a lot of demand, those ones are going to have, typically you want to validate by seeing that there's many channels on the platform that have 100,000 subscribers or more, that they're AdSense enabled, and finally that they again have multiple monetization streams. So as you can see, there's a lot that goes into selecting a niche, and this is why I work with people directly to find the right niche that works for them. And if you do want to do this together, you can just click the link down in this video's description or pinned comment, and you can see how we can work together to do that for you. All right, so now let's move on to the next section, which is going to be talking about the toolkit that you're going to use to grow and monetize your channel. So now you should have a niche selected if you go through and ensure you miss out on making those mistakes that I just alluded to. So we're gonna scroll over and we're gonna look at the $30,000 a month channel setup and growth that is going to be taking place in accordance with AI. So let's talk about number one, the niche that you're going to pick, and we'll go all the way through the components. And just so you know, this is the order in which you should be approaching them when you are making your video. So there's a little pro tip for you right there. All right, so let's talk about selecting your niche first now that you know the criteria, and we'll go all the way through the tools that you need to use. So the first thing you want to think about is the niche selection. So let's say that we're going to pursue a blue ocean niche, which you now know what that is, right? So we're going to validate that the channels in the particular niche we're looking at are getting more than 1 million views a month, high view to subscriber ratio, and less than 6 months old. And we're validating AdSense, monetization streams, and income. So the old way of doing this was you went onto YouTube, you did some calculations and estimates on income, and you just hoped that you came across these channels haphazardly. Well, the times have changed, and there are really good tools out there to be able to do this that are AI backed and AI enforced to speed things up. So let's say that you were going to use TubeLab to be able to find a niche for your channel. So you'd basically sign up for the TubeLab tool. It's very cost effective and saves you a ton of time. And you can check the different markers or the different criteria, like let's say this channel celeb stats, right? We can see it's making over $10,000 a month. It is less than 6 months old, it's monetized, and there's high demand for this type of content. So this could be a potential blue ocean market example. So I want to really give you an idea of how these tools can work for you. And let's say you were to decide to sign up for TubeLab. It is a really great tool. I use it myself. You can simply just add these filters to come up with results that I just kind of showed you right there. So again, 6 months or less old, you can identify only show AdSense, and you can even put the parameter for $10,000 per month. So pretty cool, right? So that's how you can use this tool to find those channels that I just alluded to. Now let's talk about ideation. So you've used TubeLab to come up with a niche that's meeting all those criteria. Again, you can use it to find red ocean niches too. It's really up to you. And so now you need to go through the ideation process, which involves finding ideas or topics for your channel. So the two things you want to think about are ideas that have high demand and low supply. So again, finding gaps in the market where there's a lot of interest for a topic, but there's not a lot of videos, right? And so I recommend you use TubeLab's the Idea Finder to be able to do this. So again, if you're gonna subscribe for a tool, you might as well use all of its features, right? As you can see here, I have my account of my own. And so let's say you were deciding to enter into the investigation niche. So you just write the keyword investigation, and then you'd be able to see a whole bunch of outlier videos that exist in the market. You can see their outlier scores, you can see how much the videos made as ad revenue, and you can basically see which videos could make for good topics for you to emulate on your channel. And you can even filter by faceless, which is great, because obviously some topics work a little bit better for on-screen than faceless. Now that's the high demand side of things, to see what are people watching. But how do you know what the supply is, right? So all you have to do is go over and enter in the title of the video into the YouTube search bar, and you can just start to analyze the search results and see how many videos are there for a particular topic. If there's a whole bunch and a lot of them are getting really low views, you probably don't want to pursue it. But if the views are quite high, it's showing that there's a lot of interest in the market. Okay, let's move on to titles now. So titles are super important, and often people overlook them because they just don't spend enough time, and then their packaging's not that great. So they spend all this time making videos and no one wants to click on them. That's not great, right? So you want your titles to be high intrigue, keep them short so that they're easy to read and that they're contextual to the video you're making. So I recommend that you use the 1 of 10 title generator. So this tool, you can literally enter in inspirational channels that you want to use as reference points, and you can basically use it to create AI titles that are meant for YouTube. And this is where this tool is way better than ChatGPT, because the tool is built on YouTube data and what's working right now. It's just not making random guesses at titles that you can use on your video. So again, this is why this is a really great tool for you to use. And if we move on forward, you're going to see here that thumbnails, the other part of your packaging, because packaging is usually considered to be your title and your thumbnail, you want to consider a few different items, okay? And don't worry, we're going to be getting to the monetization piece soon, but if your videos are not good and they're not getting views, you won't be able to monetize. So this is why we need to focus on this right now. So the thumbnail criteria, you want your thumbnails to have high resolution, minimal text so that they're easy to read in a short order, and then it complements the title of your video. So once again, I recommend the 1 of 10 thumbnail generator, because if you're going to sign up for a couple tools, you want to use them to their fullest extent. So if we slide over here, we're going to see that the thumbnail generator, you can just put in what kind of other channel you want to use as a reference point, could be your own. Then you can enter in the title of the video, and it's going to come up with some great thumbnails for your channel. So that'll save you some money on the whole creation of thumbnails, or it's going to save you a ton of time. Either way, you're saving, just depending on the resource you usually use to make your thumbnails. All right, so now we're getting through to the script writing. So again, script writing is an aspect of creating YouTube videos that can often take a very, very long time. And a lot of people are using ChatGPT right now to make their scripts, but it's not really the best because the tool, again, is just not set up for writing YouTube scripts. But a tool that is Subscriber AI. So I really recommend this tool. Number one, because again, it is meant for YouTube, and it's really good at creating novel ideas in your scripts. So adding in new elements that, is going to really appeal to your target viewer. But you do, when you are writing scripts, want to have new ideas that are new in the market that obviously people haven't watched in other channels. You're targeting your ideal viewer, which again, Subscriber has. It can basically say, here's who I'm trying to reach. Can you write this script to meet those people's desires, needs, and pain points? And again, you want to align to supply gaps in the market. So where ideas don't presently exist, you want to make sure that those are in your script. So here you can see an example of entering in to Subscriber based on your channel setup. You can say, here's what I'm trying to resonate with from an audience perspective, and then you could literally just get the preview of what the text is going to be and go from there. Now finally, we'll round out with the last two items, which is voiceovers and editing. This is a really important part of your video, again, that people overlook. So number one, I'm just going to say you can use AI voiceovers on your channel. Don't be scared by all the misnomers out there or all the false claims that if you use an AI voice, your videos are going to get demonetized, your channel is going to get taken down. If you're making very poor quality videos with AI, yeah, your videos will get taken down. But if you're using these tools to make original, high quality content, you will not have a problem. So I recommend 11 Labs. And when you are creating voiceovers, again, you can do them yourself, but it does take quite a bit of equipment and time. You want to make sure that your voice is aligned to the target audience that you are trying to resonate with. And you want to make sure that if you're using an AI voice, that there's not a whole bunch of choppiness so that it comes across as AI, because again, the voiceovers still are not 100% where they need to be. So you probably just want to do a quick little edit before you upload your voiceover, so that it is as smooth as possible. And you can just use that and do that in any editing software. So again, pick from 11 Labs voice library. You can find tons of different voices in tons of different languages, and just make sure that it resonates with the type of person that will be watching your content, and you're going to be good to go. Now finally, we have editing. So I hate to break it to you, but the reality is that editing tools right now are not set up when it comes to AI to edit your videos at the click of a button. Those that do are really not that high quality, which means that your videos are not going to get too much traction and you're more just wasting your time than getting ahead, okay? So when you're thinking about editing a video, first you want to think about, can I create some sort of branded image for my videos that's going to differentiate my content from everything else in the market? Because if you recall, I talked about the difference between supply and demand in the market. And when people can watch something in low supply that they haven't seen before, it's intriguing. So having an editing style that is different is going to serve you well. And make sure that you have high frequency pattern breaks so that you're able to keep people's attention. Now, if you are doing it yourself, CapCut or Premiere Pro are definitely the two best tools to use, with the former being a lot easier to learn than the latter. But I also recommend people go on to Upwork and outsource their editing. And the reason being is because editing takes a lot of time, takes a lot of skill, takes a lot of equipment. And very often people are missing out on one of those three things. So what I would recommend that you do is you go to Upwork and you outsource, because it's going to maximize your video quality as fast as possible. It's going to make production more sustainable. So you're not going to be able to have the excuse that I didn't have time to edit the videos, and you don't need to buy a whole bunch of equipment, which can get expensive. All right, now let's go to the last part of this. This is where you want to be when it comes to learning and employing the $30,000 a month YouTube monetization roadmap. So what we're going to talk about here is we are going to be talking about how to now scale up your channel once you have it set up. So at this point, you should have a channel set up, you should have your niche, and you should know what tools you need to use to start creating your videos. But the videos alone are not going to be the be all end all to making money on YouTube. So what you need to think about next is, how will I monetize my content? So if you're paying attention at the start of the video, you want to aim to employ 2 or more monetization methods on your channel. So typically people will do ad revenue plus at least one other option here. Again, probably the more the better, but you will use your own professional judgment. And we'll talk about some being a little bit more effective than others closer to the end of the video. All right. So first, let's talk about why most people struggle to hit $30,000 a month on YouTube. So we're going to talk about all 3 mistakes, because again, if you fall into any of these, I promise you, you won't even get close to making this much money, let alone hitting $30,000 a month. So mistake 1 is being too ad revenue reliant. Mistake 2 is having poor offer visibility. And then mistake number 3 is having insufficient video catalogs. All right, so let's talk about the first one, okay? This is, again, very critical to avoid in terms of mistakes. So mistake number 1 is being ad revenue reliant. So I know you go on social media, I know you see people posting these big months on screenshots from ad revenue, and you want to do the exact same thing. But for every one person that can really get to those high income levels with ad revenue, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of other people making just as much money with a fraction of the views, which is much more efficient, okay? And you're going to get up to your income goal faster by doing this. So the wrong thing to do is only rely on ad revenue, because it takes a ton of views to make any meaningful cash with that. And the right way to do it is to have a mix of different products, affiliates, ad revenue, brand deals, and other income streams, okay? Because again, ad revenue is really not that efficient. And the way I look at it is the following, okay? Think about making ad revenue as riding a bike on first gear. You're doing a lot of pedaling, but you're not really gaining too much traction, okay? And then think about mixing your monetization strategy, kind of like biking on 7th gear. You're pushing a little bit harder because you have to set up these deals, build these products, offer these services, but you're going so much further for the same amount of revolutions, okay? That is how you should think about YouTube. This is a brand new concept I came up with just for this video, but I really like it because it does well illustrate the fact that you need to be using multiple monetization methods to really get ahead and use and maximize those views. So mistake number 2 now is poor offer visibility. So let's say that you are creating a website, right? And your link on Google ends up on the 6th page. I don't know if I've ever actually clicked on a link and followed through for a link that's been on the 6th page. I usually quit after the first one. So as you can imagine, if no one's seeing your website, you're not getting any clicks, right? Well, it's the same thing with having offers that you're promoting in your video, like a product, a service, etc. If no one's seeing it, no one's going to click on it, you're not going to monetize. So rather than just show you what not to do, what I want to show you is what you should be doing. And in this case, you can see here my student Mark. He runs a very successful personal finance channel. It isn't faceless, but regardless, he's crushing it. And you can see here that in his video, not only does he have the link to his newsletter, which he monetizes, at the top of his description in the first line, but he also has it in his pinned comment as well, right? And he actually adds in, and here's a little pro tip for you, a combination of these two different reference points and an audio cue as well. So he's not just going to have the links there and hope you find them. He's going to actually say, hey, and if you want to sign up for my newsletter, you can check out the links. And so that pushes people to click, because you know yourself. Sometimes you're listening to a video while you're washing the car, while you're cleaning, while you're cooking. You're not looking at the description in the pinned comment. So when you hear that there's an auditory cue, you might go and click it, and that will automatically increase the number of people going to your links and your offers. Now, let's talk about mistake number 3, which is insufficient video catalogs. So what most people don't realize on YouTube is that 80% of the views on a channel are going to come from roughly 20% of the videos. So it's that classic 80-20 principle, right? But the problem is that most people don't realize this. So they upload a few videos and then they're like, well, this doesn't work. And then they quit their channel and they never make any money on YouTube. What you need to do is you need to upload until you get to the point where you find those outlier videos on your channel that will then lead to the most amount of views, right? So if you upload 20 videos and that 21st video finally is that breakout one that you really see what resonates with your audience, you're going to get way more results by starting to emulate what you did in that video on that 21st video in future videos. So you got to give yourself some cadence and some time to be able to find what works on your channel. And also you need to consider the fact that as you release more videos, you are going to start building up more baseline monthly views. So instead of struggling to get 5,000 views per month, now you're going to start the next month, with a baseline of like 10,000, 15,000, 30,000, 50,000. And the more videos that you start to amass, that especially if they're evergreen, the more views that you're naturally going to have on a monthly basis that are pushing towards either getting more ad revenue, making more sales, getting more affiliate conversions, or however you decide to monetize your channel. So what I want to talk about now is just the $30,000 a month monetization math, okay? Because again, not every approach is of equivalent effectiveness. So let's say that you are just going to make ad revenue only. You want those cool YouTube screenshots. So if you want in a high RPM niche like personal finance, let's say, where you're getting $10 per 1,000 views, you need 3 million views per month to make $30,000 a month. And I just shared this statistic here because less than 3% of channels exceed 1.5 million monthly views. So you'd have to be in the top, let's say 2%, 1% of channels to even get to this mark just with ad revenue, right? So this is why I don't really recommend it, because you want to give yourself the most chance to make this money, not the least, right? So let's talk about 2 different ways that you can do this. The first one is doing a combination of ad revenue, brand deals, and affiliates. So let's say you're at a much more reasonable 500,000 views per month. You're going to basically be collecting around $5,000 in ad revenue, which is, again, much more attainable. And then you're going to start to have these different brand deals and affiliates that you're converting on. So in your videos, you have affiliates for, brokerages, for different products, for different services, obviously relating to what your content is. But it's not unreasonable to be paid $1,000 for a video integration of 90 seconds to 120 seconds in your video. Again, that combined with affiliate offers on your videos, again, 500,000 views is a lot of people watching your content. So you're really converting at a very, very, very low rate to be able to get to these income figures. So again, just think about the fact that if you have different means of monetizing, you're going to be able to automatically scale up a lot faster because you're making those views work harder. Now, speaking of that, probably my favorite way to monetize is through having ad revenue plus an offer to sell. So again, same ad revenue status of $5,000 based on the view count and the RPM. But let's say instead you have a very modest product that you're selling at, say, $50 each, right? So again, you don't really have to convert too many people per month to get up to this $25,000 mark. And this is a really great way of monetizing your content, especially if you're faceless. The reality is the trust is not going to be as high as if you're seeing, like, let's say in this example, my face. Usually people that are on screen can do a lot higher ticket offers that are thousands, multiple thousands, 5 figures. But if you're running a faceless channel, it's not a big reach for someone to break out their wallet and spend $50 for a creator that they like, especially, again, going back to the start of the video, if that product or service aligns to a pain point that they're looking to solve. Now, without further ado, here are 3 secret faceless YouTube niches. And if you want to do this together and work with me to build up and monetize your channel, click the link in this video's description and we'll be able to connect from there.